Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, back in June we had Free RPG Day in 2018. Not RPG Day, but Free RPG Day, where you could go to your local game store and pick up all the sorts of free products. And one of them I paid for because I backed it quite some time ago, and that's this neat little book that I got in the mail right after Free RPG Day. But I'm not mad. It's a great book, great quality. Lamentations of the Flame Princess always makes some super physical quality. These things are top notch. And I really kind of like this book, and I wanted to talk about these alternate playtest notes that he's put here in the back, because he uses the back cover, or this part of the book. It jams the book, full of stuff everywhere. The weird magic system is pretty much the same, a little bit expanded as this old book. That was from last year's Free RPG Day. I like this magic system quite a bit. I used it in my Lamentations in Prussia game. In my Lamentations of the Martian Princess game, we've been using a different alternate magic system, which is more based on Matt Finch's Swords and Wizardry. It's not in Swords and Wizardry, but his kind of point system a little bit, but with some more miscasts. But we're kind of gravitating towards using some kind of amalgam of these two, because I really enjoyed using this where there's no spell levels. You get to cast your level and spells a day, and then there's various things that can prompt a save versus magic. If you fail that save, there's this horrible miscast table you have to look at. And if these things stack, you're casting too many spells in a day, you're casting while you've been injured, you're carrying too much, you're casting a spell you haven't memorized or out of somebody else's book. If you have many of these conditions, then you have to make a saving throw, and you also have to save at a negative, and all these conditions stack. Same thing happens in this book, but he put a bunch of other playtest rules in here and asked, what do you think of these? And I know that John Allen Large, Red Dice Diaries, had posted, I think, on MeWe that he had talked about what he thought about these, because he's been playing some Lamentations. Not surprising, because he likes kind of simpler systems. So I remember he got into that game a while ago. Good for him. But I purposely did not look. I think it's actually on his blog. I think it was a link to his blog. I didn't look at what he thought, because I wanted to make my own impressions video. And actually, one of my viewers, Chris Hall, asked me, what do you think of these new playtest rules, and especially about the saving throws? I really like the saving throws, but we'll get to that part. Part of what a lot of these playtest rules he's put in here do, or what they really kind of accentuate, is the idea that Lamentations of the Flame Princess tends to be played with lower level characters. And so you might as well focus on those characters when they're at that kind of 1st to 5th level, whatever the heck it is. Because they're not generally going to be these 15th and 20th level, whatever. It's not going to be playing high fantasy Dungeons and Dragons. It just happens to use the framework of that old BX system, which, unsurprisingly, one of my favorites. But anyhow, he's done some interesting things with ability scores. He's changed the ranges a little bit. It's instead of the regular old Moldvay modifiers where the brackets are 3 and 4 and 5, and then 6 through 8 and 9 through 12, and then 13 through 15, and then 16, 17, and then 18. Now they're 3 and 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16, 17 through 18. So there's 5 brackets. A little bit less. 2 less brackets. That's okay. No big deal. But part of what he's done in here is saying, okay, well, throw out all those modifiers that you're used to using, which I'm kind of two minds about. I understand why he's done it, but these are modifiers I've used for 37 years, off and on. I kind of like them. I would consider what he's doing with these ability scores, the other modifiers, more adjunctive. I'm going to add that onto what I already do, but I can understand just running it with these and nothing else. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. What do the ability scores modify now? Well, Charisma determines your saving throw dice versus magical effects. The higher your Charisma, the more d6 dice you roll for a saving throw. A dice pool? What are you talking about, Ivan? Well, I'll get to that. Constitution determines what die you roll for hit points, and it can range from a d4 all the way up to a d12. So it's not based on your class, what hit die you roll. It's based on your Constitution. And the other neat thing is everybody rolls, their appropriate hit die at first level. Fighters roll it twice and take the highest one. But then after that, every level, you roll that number of your appropriate hit dice. Say your 3rd level, and you're just in the 9 through 12 range, so you're using d8s. You roll 3d8. If it's higher than the hit points you had at 2nd level, hooray, that's your new set of hit points. If not, well, you keep the old one. And that's kind of harkens way back to original D&D, and part of what it does is this kind of regression to the mean. And it kind of, once again, like a lot of things in Lamentations of the Flame Princess happen to do, is it takes that, it stops that power creep. So characters kind of remain in this one little bracket. And they don't. There isn't this big giant difference between like a 5th level character and a 2nd level character in terms of something like hit points. A little bit, on average, you can work it out exactly what it is. But I like that system quite a bit. Dexterity determines what die you roll for initiative. Higher is better. Higher dexterity, the bigger die. Once again, all the way from D4 to D12. So everybody has to do initiative rolls separately. Intelligence modifies your skill point total. Skill point total? What are you talking about? Well, I'll get to that part too, because normally Lamentations characters, only specialists, have skill points, but we'll get to that. Strength determines how many items make up one full encumbrance point in his encumbrance system. And I laughed because that's an idea I had made a video about. It wasn't a great video, about my ideas for modifying Lamentations back in 2010, I think, when I first started playing this game. And then Wisdom determines your saving throw dice versus non-magical effects. So, we'll get to these saving throws because that's one of my favorite parts. Let's see. Character classes and gaining levels. There's 2,500 XP is required to reach level 2 for all classes, and double XP from that. So it's decided that you have a unified skill system. Only fighters, magic users, and specialists will exist. No demi-humans and no clerics. Which I knew he was going to be doing that at some point. And I like the no demi-humans and the no clerics. It kind of makes a little bit of sense. You can watch those spells in one way or the other, because they're not very Lamentations, and a lot of times they can be a little bit problematic in plain old D&D. But anyhow, so I really like what he's done with that. Attack bonuses. There's 4 categories: melee, firearms, ranged, and guard. And fighters begin with a +2 in all those categories at first level and gain +1 to all each additional level, just like normal. Everybody else begin with a +1 in firearms and a +1 bonus to one other random category. So you have to figure out, you can roll, figure out which one you do. The guard move in combat replaces parry, so you can decide to guard at any time. And you receive an armor bonus equal to your level plus your guard bonus. So pretty decent. It's different than the parry. He has some rules here for holding an action, which I won't get into. It's not that big of a deal. All weapons now do 1d8 damage. So it's kind of like that old basic, everything does d6. However, armor counts double against light or minor weapons, and it counts as only half against great weapons. So the idea is, like, they all do d8 damage. A dagger can kill you just as well as an axe can kill you. But if you're wearing, say, leather armor, now it doesn't give you +2 to your armor class, it gives you +4 to your armor class. It's much better against that small weapon. However, if you're wearing something like plate mail, which would give you +6 to your armor class, and somebody's using this big giant maul on you, well, it's only going to give you +3 because it's this big, huge weapon. I kind of dig that, so I like what he's done there. Skills, he added 4 extra skills. In addition to architecture, bushcraft, climb, languages, search, sleight of hand, stealth, and tinkering, there's also leadership, luck, medicine, and seamanship. Seamanship is, no-brainer. It's boats, for crying out loud. Leadership affects like morale rolls with your henchmen. Luck allows you to re-roll some dice. The higher your luck score, that many times you can re-roll a dice roll if you want to. Medicine, pretty much a successful use of that doubles recovery of hit points, ability scores, etc. for the day. So that's pretty cool. Failure requires another saving throw to be made, so they take more damage. But your medicine roll will get much better with a skill of medicine. Now, each skill begins with a +0 bonus. It's now roll high in a d6, not roll low, but it's the same math, except, and specialists also still get 4 pips at first level and 2 pips thereafter. But everybody else starts out with 1 random skill that has a +3 bonus, and 1 random skill that has a +2 bonus. All characters start with that. The other classes don't gain more skills over time, but they start out as skilled in something. If they happen to have a modifier due to intelligence, well, then they get more or less, and it goes into details about how that happens. I like that. I like that addition, and I like the, a lot of us have messed around with giving the other classes a little bit of skills. I like this. It just kind of, okay, this is what your character is good at. They don't improve over time like a specialist does, but they're good at something. So, what about these saving throws? One of my favorite parts of this, these playtest rules. You roll a dice pool of d6s. Successes are 6s. You can either and you can either have a partial save where you get 1 6, or you can get a full save which means you get 2 or more sixes. He has, what I really love what he's done here, because I'm a math guy, is he's done the math and explained to you, just how well you'd be saving, as a first level character, because these never get better. Your save is your save. Save versus magic based on charisma, a save versus everything else based on wisdom. And he demonstrates, your success rate, as opposed to being a first level or 5th level or 10th level character as a specialist or a fighter or a magic user. So you tend to save, for the most part, somewhere around 5th to 7th level in terms of success. However, you have these partial saves, which happen an awful lot. It's very PBTA in a way, which is not surprising. It's a dice pool. So let's take a look at the average character with a 9 through 12 ability would have a 48% chance of failing their save. So it's like about, that's pretty good actually. They have about a 39% chance of having a partial save and about a 14% chance of having a full save. So in most cases, you're having some kind of partial save. What's a partial save in many cases is something you're going to have to kind of make up, which I like. The one thing that saving throw happens to do, or makes it a little bit tougher, is using this magic system. Because, if you recall, when these conditions start to stack, you start to suffer negatives on your saving throws. Now normally that would be a d20 saving throw. It's a -1, -2, -3, -4. Now you're losing dice, and it is crippling. So it makes the magic system very, very dangerous, which I kind of dig, but it's something to consider. At the end of the day, I like these playtest rules. Had I really looked at them before I started Lamentations of the Martian Princess, I might have put more of them in there. I would like to try to use these in the near future. But for me, these are worth trying. And he said, check them out, play test them, let me know what you think. At first glance, I really like most of them. Like I said, I probably would not completely yank what the ability scores do all the time. And also, there is that caveat that the magic system is going to be a little tough using these saves. But overall, I think it's kind of a win. And he's done things, and I'm a tweaker and a hacker myself, so of course I like other people's ideas. And James also always seems to come up with something that's really, really elegant. And I am looking forward to the second edition whenever it comes out, and seeing what he's done with it. So overall, I like it. It's interesting stuff. Will I like it long term? I don't know, but pretty cool. Have a good one, kids.